Managing increasing labor and supply costs. Hey guys, I'm Syama Maher, CEO of Scaling Retail. And my gosh, we have seen the rise of labor costs and also the rise of raw materials and the entire supply chain, to be honest, just get totally screwed up in this last year. But what to do about this, right? I think that's a really important conversation and thing we need to address heads on as we move into this next year. Now, what I think is so fascinating about the rise of labor, right, is it's something that we're all in favor of. Obviously, fair wages. We all want to have a right labor wage by state. We want to make sure everyone has a livable wage. All of those things are super duper important. As a business owner, it also means incremental cost, right? And how do we start to manage incremental costs over the next few years? What does that look like? The other thing to take into consideration is obviously we've been having with these supply chain issues and certainly with raw goods and materials having some scarcity around them, we're also seeing the rise of certain costs on commodities, right? The rise of cotton, the rise of shipping, the rise of everything across the board. So, what to do as a small business and how do you actually plan for those increases and changes over time? Well, the first thing is obviously the number one way you make money is how you price things. As a small business, however, huge incremental changes in your pricing when you have a small audience, right, might actually have so much higher customer churn. They might start to fall off and wonder, hey, why are the prices increased by 25%, right? That seems rather high. So what we want to do is actually go back to how you've originally priced your product to begin with. If you're an early stage company or you haven't even launched yet and you have a small number of customers or maybe none at all, this is an amazing opportunity for you to take a step back and say, okay, how are we actually pricing ourselves to succeed? And typically when I take a look at pricing and margins, right, we want to be looking specifically in that fashion sector, not just at what our margins are going to look like selling e-commerce, right, but all in direct to consumer, but also when we look at it from a wholesale retail perspective. Now, I've heard from so many brands who are wondering, oh my gosh, how do I manage my wholesale pricing, my retail pricing? What if I don't want to do retail? I always say, start your business assuming eventually you're going to go into the wholesale retail marketplace. And the reason why is when we've seen this with so many successful companies is they start direct to consumer and then over time they want to hit up these different touch points, right? They want to be able to increase market share, and a great way to get in front of new customers and build your business is through retail partnerships. So start out by looking at pricing and say, have we priced ourselves in order to successfully go into the wholesale arena, right? Go into retail, or do we need to make some adjustments here in the beginning, right? And that I think is the number one thing to get ahead of everything if you have not launched yet. Now, if you have launched, you have a recurring customer base, people are coming to you time and time again, which is amazing. You're going to have to be communicating those shifts and changes over time, and you're going to want to actually give your customers a heads up on when these shifts and changes are going to happen. Meaning, instead of one day just changing the prices on your website and say, hey guys, because of inflation, because all these costs are going up, I actually need to increase our prices. What you want to do is say, hey, we're going to have to stage the increase of our prices, and we're going to be increasing our prices in the next 60 days. This gives your existing customers an opportunity to buy things at the current price point, stock up, right? You're basically giving your audience first dibs to be able to get stuff at that price point. And then you're giving them the answer as to why you have to increase price points, why things are shifting in this way. And trust me, our consumers these days know so much more about our industry than they did maybe 15 years ago when things were relatively black boxed. Customers know that there are labor shortages. They know that there's a supply chain issue. We hear it in the news all the time. They're definitely not going to be just receiving that email only from you, but they're starting to see those emails come out from other companies. So if a price change is going to happen in your future, really important to stage it out, right? Maybe it's with the next collection, maybe it's in a month, maybe it's in 2 months, but make sure you communicate that well. Now, when you're looking at how you're reorganizing those days in between from when you're starting to get those hit on the cost and on labor costs, and then you're making those transitions, you might have a little bit of messiness, right? You might end up eating a little bit of the margin for a little bit longer just to make sure you retain more of your customers when that price flip happens. But again, That is going to be short term, and that's going to be really in the benefit of maintaining long-term customer relationships. So guys, that is all for me in terms of how we're going to take a look at managing these issues of increases in price points. A lot of it comes down to communication. It also comes down to setting yourself up to succeed to begin with. And then the last thing I want to say is it really comes down to competitively pricing yourself globally, right? We are now in this highly globalized marketplace. As things are shifting and changing, you also want to take a look at how your price points are going to be shifting to your international audience, right? You want to take a look and see if your doors are open to be selling to the UK, also to the US, anywhere in the world. Be mindful also of price sensitivity and how things are going to be measured across the board. That I think is also equally as important because, guys, we all know that going global and creating those international footprints, especially in emerging market economies, I think is going to be your ultimate ticket to win in the long term, right? It's not just dominating here in the US, but it's also looking to build groundswell in other markets. All right, guys, that's all for me at Scaling Retail. If you need a co-CEO by your side to help you launch and scale your business efficiently, effectively, and sustainably, please send us an email at hello@scalingretail.com. We also incubate a few brands every year in order to help them find the best product market fit, create the right product for the best white spaces, and ultimately help them deliver the right customer, product, and message. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.